So my name is Mando Scamilla. I'm here with the Santa Ana Public Library. Today is Tuesday, September 10th. It's approximately 3:40 p.m. Hello, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, my name's Ava Stefeans.
All right, Ava, can you tell me a little bit about your life?
Well, I was born in Miami, Florida. My dad was Cuban, my mom was French-Canadian, and they met in Miami. Shortly after I was born, we moved to Havana, Cuba, and I lived there for a few years. The country was taken over by Castro, and many families moved out, were exiled to the United States, Puerto Rico, Spain, Mexico, etc. My family settled in Miami permanently at that point, and so that's where I grew up. I was about 4 years old. My family, though, I had traveled back and forth. Because my dad was a minor league baseball player here in the States, so the only memory I have two memories.
Okay.
I have the memory of the park, El Parque Central in Havana, Cuba, and I have a memory of a birthday party. Lots of people. It was the first memory of a birthday party that I have, with lots of little kids running around. But Latin birthday parties, it's lots of adults, so lots of grown-ups too.
All right.
I went to parochial school. So I went to St. John the Apostle School in Hialeah, Florida, but I guess my mom tried to get me into kindergarten, but I spent the first week crying continually. So she graciously kept me home for kindergarten. I didn't have to go back till I was in first grade, which was really tough for me. The reason it was so tough is because I didn't speak English, and there was no bilingual education or even immersion. And there was, you sink or swim in those days, and it was really painful, really, being a Spanish-speaking little girl in an English-speaking world, which I wasn't used to, because even though my mom was French-Canadian, the first thing she did when she married my dad, they lived with my grandparents, in Havana, and she learned Spanish right away, and so we only spoke Spanish in our home. So that was tough, but eventually I learned it really quickly because I had to, and so I went through 8 years of St. John the Apostle, and then went to Notre Dame Academy for Girls for high school, and that was in Miami, Florida. So that's my schooling.
Cool. So how do you think that education affected your life and I guess your worldview or any?
Well, first of all, I think that parochial education was amazing in terms of teaching me how to think critically, how to aspire to higher education, how to not set limits on myself, especially as a woman, going to an all-girls school. There's all of a sudden it removes all the barriers in terms of higher achievement, or because you're not. There's nobody there telling you can't do it because you're a girl, because we're all girls, and we're all highly competitive, and so in that sense, I think it really molded my thinking, where I've never really had. Anytime I have a challenge, I quickly turn it into an opportunity. After high school, I went to Miami-Dade Community College for 2 years, and then transferred to Florida State. Always from the time I was about 12 years old, I had decided I was going to go to law school and be an attorney. So, of course, I did it because I'm a high achiever. And I set a goal and I have to do it. So So I went, like I said, Miami-Dade to Florida State, and while I was in college, my family moved from the Miami area to the Dallas Fort Worth area, and so I wasn't part of that move, but I was the oldest of 6 kids. So that kind of left me in a little bit of a limbo because I wasn't crazy about Texas or Dallas, and yet I wanted to be with my family. So I tried. When I graduated from college, I tried to go back. I lasted a couple weeks, and I said, this is a perfect time to move to California. So actually, when I think I was 13, I had come out to spend a summer with my godmother who lived in Costa Mesa, and she had she and her husband, and they had a really nice cabin up in Big Bear, so it was an idyllic summer. They had a house with a pool. We went, woke up, jumped in the pool, went to the beach, went up on the weekends to the cabin in the mountains. It was so nice. I'm thinking, this is the place to live. So by the time I moved out here, she had already moved to Long Island, New York. So they didn't live here anymore. I didn't know anybody here any longer. And I didn't have a vehicle. So what I did was I found somebody in the classifieds that needed a pickup truck delivered from Dallas, Texas to City of Industry in Los Angeles area. And so I delivered the pickup truck, and then I really didn't know what I was going to do because I didn't have anybody to pick me up. I just started meeting people and finding places to rent. I ended up renting a room from a young woman in Anaheim. She was a single mom. She had 2 little boys, and she had a house in Anaheim, and she had a room for rent. So I rented that room from her. She turns out she graduated from Santa Ana High School in 1964. And she one day said to me, let's go visit a friend of mine that I went to high school with. He lives on the peninsula in Balboa. So I said, sure, sounds great. So we went down to Balboa and visited Jim Stefeans, who is now my husband. So that's how I met my husband, Jim. And my whole plan was that I would live in California for a year and then go to law school. And I was thinking of going to UCLA Law School, taking the LSAT and all of that. Took the LSAT. That was fine. But since Jim lived on the peninsula and there was only one law school in Orange County at the time, UCLA seemed way too far. So it was Western State Law School across the street from Cal State Fullerton. It was the only law school in Orange County. So ended up, I moved here in 1977, married Jim in the spring of 1978, and started law school in the fall of 1978. So fell in love with California, fell in love with Jim, fell in love with just the culture of Southern California. I mean, not to mention the climate, and he was just the funniest guy. It was so neat because, like I said, he went to Santa Ana High School, graduated in 1964, and he's a very likable person. So everywhere we would go, we would run into somebody that he went to high school with. So I would always, it was the running joke, I would say to him, you had the largest high school graduating class in the history of the world, because we can't go anywhere without running into somebody you went to high school with. And then they would tell me all the stories about Jim, and all the crazy things he did as a kid and as a young man and all of this. And but yeah, so it was fun because I had an instant family, and I come from a big family, so being here by myself, not knowing anyone, it was Jim and all his friends and everyone just drew me in and welcomed me and gave me this instant family that I needed. Yes, so now we're at 1981. Graduated high school and passed the bar and started working for a nonprofit in Santa Ana called Catholic Charities. And they had a Catholic immigration service. They needed an attorney to run their legal representation programs. And so I went to work for them practicing immigration law. And so I did that for about 2 years. And at that point I got pregnant and had my first child. And 6 months later I went back to practice, but at this point I opened my own office. And actually the executive director of Catholic Immigration Service came to work for me. And I opened an office on French Street in Santa Ana. And from there, eventually I had an office on Broadway. Anyway, so I practiced immigration and for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I came out. I was involved in a church down in Irvine, still living in Newport. I was involved in a church in Irvine. I had 2 daughters now. They were growing up. Now we're in 1999. And Jessica and Caitlin were, Jessica was born in 83, Caitlin was born in 86. So you do the math. And so we were part of this really nice church, New Harvest Community Church, and I was very involved in the women's ministry there. So we were looking for different opportunities for the women to get involved in volunteer work in the community. So we came out and visited Hispanic Ministry Center, which had an office on Grand Street in Santa Ana, and was working out of rented apartments, mainly Townsend Street. And it was summertime, so we came out and visited and took a tour of everything they were doing, and went to Jerome Park and visited some programs they were running out of Jerome Park. And so that was my first introduction to the Hispanic Ministry Center and their program KidWorks.
All right.
Right away I saw very low income housing, dense population. I saw signs of graffiti and gang influence on the streets. I actually saw some guys that walking up to cars and looked like drug activity. That's what I saw. That was the negative of what I saw. I also saw positive. I saw kids that were like eager to learn. I saw a young woman who had grown up on Townsend Street and was now going to Orange Coast College and was teaching the younger kids, and they were just looking up at her, and just she was a strong role model, I could tell, to them. And that was the part that actually grabbed a hold of me, was that piece, and thinking about her, thinking about those younger kids, wondering where they were going to be 10, 20 years down the road, and whether or not this program would have any effect on them. Was it really effective? And I saw that, and I wanted to be part of their story.
Oh, that's amazing. Do you happen to remember her name or the
Yeah, I do. I'm still in touch with her. She's still part of KidWorks. Gabby Gonzalez at the time, and now she's married, and her name's Gabby Kova, and she's actually a local teacher here in Santa Ana, and she's got 2 beautiful little kids, and her little boy who's 4 years old is part of our preschool program now. So full cycle. I got to see it. She got a master's in education. after that, and yeah, pretty exciting.
All right.
One of the things that I saw after I started working here, because obviously I started working here at some point right then in 1999, they had a position opened for an office manager, and I left my law practice and became an office manager at Hispanic Ministry Center. Eventually, the organization spun off the KidWorks program, and I incorporated it as its own nonprofit in 2002. But one of the things that I noticed right away is that the moms and dads that I was meeting were not engaged in their neighborhood. I mean, it seemed like all they could do was to try and hold their family together, and their focus, it took all their focus just to try and keep their family together and surviving and meeting those needs of the everyday needs of the family. But we had this aspiration to see this community become engaged and to improve their community, their neighborhoods. So at first I was like, how is this ever going to work? You know, I mean, they really have some severe challenges just meeting the day-to-day needs of their family, keeping a roof over their heads, keeping their families fed, making sure their kids are in school and doing well. I mean, that's a lot because the wages that they were earning it took both parents working and sometimes 2, maybe 3 jobs, just keeping it together. So I'm like, to expect them to get involved on top of that is asking a lot. And not only that, but then there was also the challenge of, if I get involved, this is a parent speaking, if I get involved, then I can get in trouble. I can get deported possibly, or there can be some retaliation if I start complaining about the drug activity or the gang activity, or so there's a lot of fears there as well. So what first needed to happen is we needed to establish trust and relationships in the community. So there were a lot of years of basically becoming friends with the neighbors, building trust, not only being there to provide resources, but being there when somebody needed just an ear to listen to them, or a shoulder to cry on, or some place to be and feel safe and supported. And that's when the conversation started evolving into more than just can you give me this, or can you help me with that, but how can I help you? How can I get involved? How can I give back to my community? How can I be part of the change? But it was an evolution. You know, I've been here now 14 years, and I see a lot of residents and young people that have become true leaders in their community, where when I first got here, I could hardly get them to come outside their door other than to go to work, go to school, get their laundry done, so it's come a long way.
So in those early years, did you guys just have a center on the street, or an apartment that was rented out? Or how did that work
we
out?
rented an apartment and pulled out the appliances and in the kitchen, and that became the library, and the bedroom was a computer lab. The living room was a tutoring center. Somewhere in there we had a desk so we could get our paperwork done. And then we had an office on Grand still at that time. And then Myrtle Street was the same thing. There was a little apartment there. 2 bedrooms. So we used one of the bedrooms for early childhood literacy activities, and so yeah, that was big times too.
All right.
I mean, I wish I could say, well, crime is gone. The educational attainment level has risen significantly, and everybody's doing great, and we're ready to move on. I wish I could say that. There have been significant improvements. We do have students, like Javier, who got his degree, got his diploma at Mater Dei. We've had several. I don't know the number, but over a dozen students that have gone to Mater Dei High School on a scholarship and graduated and gone on to college. We've had lots of students. In fact, 94% of the students at KidWorks graduate high school on time. 86%, I think, something like that, enroll in college. We're still, since we started counting that after we moved into this center, because we didn't have a Youth Works program. We didn't work with the older kids necessarily. We didn't have a program. There were kids that would come and go, but we didn't have a program dedicated to them until after we were here. So that's when we started counting those results. But we do have kids, Hilda is in Georgetown, Lali's at Scripps College. We have great successes that we're seeing, but literacy rates are still low in this city, in this neighborhood. We want to improve that. We want to see more preschool available for more children in this community. The waiting list, it's, I think, about 400 for preschoolers. So we need more preschool availability. Our waiting list for our after-school programs are about 200. So we need more space for that. There's other neighborhoods that don't have access to the opportunities here. We'd like to improve that. We've started at a couple of other neighborhoods, Bishop Manor, Cedar Evergreen. So we're building that and starting from scratch in those neighborhoods, and so that's what we're working on. And more than anything, I mean, where the rubber really meets the road is in the community engagement piece. Really working with those young leaders and with those parent leaders to help them understand the systems that are holding us back in many ways, and how they can have an impact there, so that's where really I see the sustainability, especially with the young leaders, because they're the ones that are going to really be able to make the huge difference in this neighborhood, in this community, in this city, and beyond, to make things different, to make the changes. Well, for instance, the education system. On paper, there's a buy-in for parent engagement at the schools in Santa Ana, but in reality, it's not really happening. So making the schools more welcoming for parents, and truly engaging the resource of parents that are wanting to be involved and wanting to be a part of student achievement. There's so many opportunities, because it's true, schools don't have the funding that they need, but they have resources in the many parents that have a desire to be involved and to be and to help not only their own kids but their community. And so having that true parent engagement at the Santa Ana School District level is one of the things that I think it can really bring about a lot of improvement as parents start understanding how the school system works, not just from what they're learning in trainings, but from being involved in it. They can really start pushing improvements that can help student achievement. One of the, because we need the graduation rates to go up. We not just graduation rates, but we need more college prep classes available for our students. I mean, we learned that only 16% of our high school graduates in Santa Ana are actually have college prep classes in their schools. So they're not graduating ready to be college students. They're having to do remedial work when they go into college so that they can catch up, so that they can do college level work. So that's one area. Education's one area. Another area that our youth have identified as a need for improvement is land use. And we know that we have an issue of open space in Santa Ana, not having enough of it. So having more open space, whether it's through joint use with schools, or whether it's taking vacant lots and turning them into recreation space, that's one area. Or taking or being able to develop more indoor sports facilities, recreation facilities for young people, so that they have a place to be healthy, to be fit, to learn skills, sports, discipline, keep them out of trouble, safe. So yeah, all the skills that you learn when you're involved in those types of activities. Well, I would say that there's a minority of people in this neighborhood, in this community, that are engaged in negative activities. I would say the vast majority of the individuals, families in this community actually are amazing. They are they're giving, they're loving, they share. There's no end to how helpful, how gracious, how generous they are. They will, if they have 2 cents in their pocket and they think that you need it, they will give it to you. No matter what they have, they'll give to you. If they think that you're in need, they forget about their own need. So that's the majority of the people here. So yeah.
Thank you, Ava. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we?
No, because I'm just going to start crying and I have no idea. So I'm done.
Okay. All right, we're done. It's not a good interview unless you got a tear or two. All right. Good.